Last summer, it probably would have been hard for most people to believe that there could be positivity surrounding the release of the Flash movie, with all the production hell, all the massive reshoots it went through, and of course, Ezra Miller being involved in more controversies than anyone could possibly count. But they stood by him. DC said, hey, Ezra, go out there, make an apology. We're going to hide you. We're not going to let you do a press tour. We're just going to bank on the nostalgia of Michael Keaton and all these other cameos that we have in the Flash. And sure enough, when it debuted at CinemaCon, and ever since then, there's been a lot of positive word of mouth by the critics, by a bunch of different people in Hollywood, celebrities saying, I saw this movie, it was the best superhero movie I've ever seen. And in fact, when you saw the box office projections that came out early last week, it looked like it had paid off for Warner Brothers, like it paid off for DC, because those numbers projected around $130, $140 million domestic opening for The Flash, which would have been their best since 2016, since Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice 7 years ago. But all of a sudden, that has changed. It looks like maybe all that positive word of mouth, maybe all these celebrities coming out there talking about The Flash, maybe it didn't have as big of an impact as Warner Brothers and as DC was hoping it to have. Because here are the headlines now, a week after those initial projections. Ezra Miller's The Flash and Pixar's Elemental encounter box office headwinds. Early tracking shows The Flash opening to a soft $70 million at the domestic box office. That is way off what was projected before. Before you had $120 to $140 million. That's what we had just 7 days ago, just last week. But now instead of being viewed as a really solid opening weekend potentially for a movie that's going to need to make a lot of money to break even, now we're looking at these numbers and it's closer to something like Black Adam than it could be to any of these potential successes from the DCEU. Here you go from the wrap. The Flash clocks 75 million plus box office launch in early projections. The first round of box office projections are in for Warner Brothers, and after a year of struggles for DC movies, Andy Muschietti's time-warping film may bring a box office rebound, although initial projections are not as big as some theater owners and box office observers hoped. 3 weeks away from release, projections have The Flash earning an opening of at least $75 million, lower than the $134 million opening of Matt Reeves' The Batman in March 2022, but better than the $67 million opening of Black Adam and way better than the abysmal $30 million for Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Now, I know everything's going to depend on the hold, obviously, right? If something has a great hold, then it has a great hold, it has box office legs, so on and so forth. And we've heard good word of mouth for this movie. But the fact that these projections have dropped so significantly from the $135, $140 million range all the way down to $70 or $75 million, that's almost cut in half in just a week. Now, it certainly could change in the time leading up to the release of this movie. There's no doubt about that. But if this movie opens to these types of numbers, maybe it has a better hold than Black Adam, but $67 million for Black Adam was sad. It was pathetic. There was no way it had a chance to succeed after that. And if that's the case for The Flash, with all this excitement, with all this hype, bringing back all these different characters, with the massive budget, we know it's been reported as like $225 million. That's just simply not true. We've heard plenty of DC insiders say, no, the reshoots put this thing way, way, way over budget. It's not even close to that, and they're not reporting that. They probably won't until later. This thing needs to make massive amounts of money to be profitable. But I said this in the video I made the other day, when then the big announcement about the cameo for Nick Cage was made public by the director. You know, a lot of people are sitting there talking positively about this movie. The projections were good, but if you look at what DC's done in the last couple months, since the James Gunn announcement, really, it just has not tracked very well. Black Adam happened before the James Gunn announcement, and that was a massive flop. Shazam 2 was an even bigger flop than anyone could have potentially imagined. So the fact that these early numbers now for The Flash or something like this, that does not bode well. Now, could it still succeed if it has great hold and great international numbers? It certainly could, even with the $70 or $75 million opening. Let's take a look at the history of these DCEU releases. And, you know, not a ton of them have cracked over $100 million opening weekend. You got Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, and Man of Steel are the only ones that cracked over $100 million opening weekend. You could say, if you want to look positively, if you want to be, you know, Warner Brothers and look positively about this, hey, look, Aquaman had a $67 million opening. It made over $1 billion. That's true, But Aquaman wasn't hyped to the level of The Flash. You've got people, you got celebrities tweeting about how it's the best superhero movie I've ever seen. You've got David Zaslav saying that same thing. You've got Michael fucking Keaton coming back as Batman. You have all these cameos. There should be way more anticipation for this movie than there ever was for Aquaman. Just had legs and legs and legs. When it comes to The Flash, you'd got to be worried that it would perform more like Black Adam did than it would like Aquaman, which had very similar opening weekends. Either way, this is certainly not the news. With everything, all the marketing they've done, the message they've been putting out there, the critics that have been saying these things, the celebrities that have been saying all this stuff, this is not the news they wanted. Just over Black Adam's opening weekend, that's now what The Flash is projected to have. That could spell disaster for Warner Brothers and for this movie. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.